Back on Locked On NHL Game Night, Cam Stewart alongside Tyler Feldman. We're here after every Stanley Cup Final game and even the days in between. You are not getting rid of us. So guys, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're liking the content. Leave us a message down in the comments below on what you want us to talk about in these dead days for the Stanley Cup Final and what you're thinking about in this series. Who are the best players? Who's going to win it? And how many games? Let us know in the comment section below. Of course, finding us here on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. Okay, Tyler, we're talking about the top 5 players, 5 best players in this Stanley Cup Final, and who's going to have the biggest impact. So we've already gone through our first 2 each, which are all Florida Panthers. Sergei Bobrovsky ends up on there twice. Tyler, who do you have at your number 3 spot?
Edmonton, rejoice. At number 3, I am putting Leon Draisaitl.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Good call.
Big surprise. Huge upset.
Yeah.
Huge upset. Mr. Consistent on the offensive side. That production has just been killer for any opponent. The peanut butter to McDavid's jelly. That's what Draisaitl is. The 1-2 punch. The 2-headed monster. The dual threat. The alternate captain to McDavid's captain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, captain, my captain.
Both
with
captains.
Draisaitl and McDavid. Draisaitl with 3. Scoring, skating, playmaking, he can do it all. 16 games played in these playoffs so far. 25 points, 7 goals, 18 apples, plus 11.
Not bad.
Just sensational. Just sensational. So no doubter that I feel like your dog is jingling a little bit. Is that what you're looking at over there?
Excited right now. Yeah.
At one of these shows, we've got to get the dog on. He's fired up for Draisaitl. The guy. Little Doggo's a huge Draisaitl fan. It makes sense.
And she can continue to be fired up because my number 3, great minds think alike. I'm also going with Leon Draisaitl.
How about that?
I think we might have some mirror images for the next couple. But Leon, you mentioned it. He's obviously been a horse in this postseason. It's this weird duality with him because he might be the most clutch player for the Oilers in that you can think of all these clutch moments he's had over the last couple of seasons. And yet, he was arguably the story of last year's Stanley Cup Final for the opposite thing. He sucked. He choked. He didn't have a single goal in the 7 games. He had a dirty hit, but no goals, and only had 3 points, a -2 in that 7-game series. Even when Edmonton was coming back, he was not a big part of it. Like, that is a huge, huge part of this year's Stanley Cup Final.
That's a huge motivating factor for a guy like Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, he's got to be better. And you mentioned it, like he's been big in this postseason. He's been awesome on that power play, he leads the team in power play assists. And it's really, as much as McDavid is always going to be the engine, Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins on that power play this year with a guy like Evan Bouchard, man, they've been fantastic. But I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say, I think Leon's going to get more goals this year in the Stanley Cup Final than he got in last year's Stanley Cup Final.
That's one of the crazier predictions I've heard. Look, so far.
I'm a guy who's willing to put that on.
You are living life, Cam, on the edge. You are just not the same when games aren't happening.
I'm a madman, man. You should see me in like mid-July.
Yeah, mid-July, Cam. I'm excited.
It's nuts.
I'm excited. A ripe tomato out in that sun.
Truly. Speaking of, let's move on to number 2. Let's go back to the sunshine. I have a feeling might be simpatico with this one too. He is one of the most polarizing players in the entire league. Some argued a few months ago, is he the face of the league?
Oh, you're saying Brad Marchand here?
Of course. Sure. Of course. Close enough. Former Bruin to Bruins killer. Matthew Tkachuk is where I'm going with.
That makes
with
more
number
sense.
2, obviously the straw that stirs the drink for this Florida Panthers team.
Look at that mouth guard bite. That's Hall of Fame worthy.
That's something you don't want to see coming at you.
No.
I mean, he's an ugly looking skater, but you don't want to see that coming at you, especially in the playoffs.
I thought you were going to say he's an ugly looking guy. And I'm like, whoa, Cam, that's a little bit too personal.
Unfortunately, I can't say that about Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, brother, I don't want to get into that right now. But since coming to Florida in 2022, the big trade, like he has been the guy. He's not unsurprisingly led this franchise in points, primary assists, and he's been 3rd in goals over that span. He's been off and on in this postseason. He's been a physical factor, but hasn't been as much of a points factor as he has been the last couple of postseasons. But that said, they're 3-1 when he scores in games this year, and they're undefeated when he has a multi-goal game. And how about this? To go back to the stats in these 3 seasons, each of which they've gone to the Stanley Cup Final. By the way, the only guys to do that in their first 3 seasons with a new team in the last 40 years are Pat Maroon and Matthew Tkachuk.
Wow.
And in that span, Tkachuk, 22 goals, 40 assists for 62 points in 61 postseason games at a +16. Yeah, it's pretty good. He's not been great in the final, though.
Is that good?
It's pretty decent. In the final, in these 2 finals, though, 11 games, he is a -3 and only has 6 points. So I still think obviously the Panthers go as he goes. They were able to get it done without a great Tkachuk showing in the final last year. But if he can really, if it's going through Matthew Tkachuk in the Stanley Cup final, it's going to be a quick one, and it's going to be a good one for the Panthers.
My number 2 is also Matthew Tkachuk for a lot of those same reasons. He's the beating heart of the Florida Panthers. His heart beats, so do the Panthers. He's got a physical presence about him, size-wise and the way in which he plays the game. He's got an old-school attitude on the ice that I believe inflicts a little bit of fear into the opposition. They may never admit that, but that's the way his game is. He's a little bit of a rat, a little bit of a pest, which fits the Florida Panthers style. He's clutch. He's talented. He seemingly makes the right play at the right time. And sure, maybe last year around this time, it wasn't his best. This time around, though, in these playoffs, he's been consistent.
Yep.
Not over the top like McDavid and Draisaitl, but I would put him into that category in playmaking ability. 17 games played, 5 goals, 11 assists. He's got 16 points. He's a +4 through these playoffs. So, again, beating hard of the Panthers. They will go as he goes, and he's at number 2 for me because of the impact that he has on top of the skill that he possesses.